Welcome back to another episode of Fun Friday with more than just another guest, but kind of a friend here, if you will. Adam, I've known you for some time now. I think we met in Miami of 2022 in October. Lots has changed since then, with obviously,
Lots has changed for you too.
yeah,
Actually, now that we're talking about it, I think
yeah,
we had like a
really.
steak dinner somewhere at some conference, and you were just getting started with Rob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, that's a good point. It was Dan Hanford's MFIN Cons event where you got connected with a long lost family member, someone by the name of Shaquille O'Neal.
That's
So
right.
full cycle, long moment. Here we are today. That was actually my first, actually ever affiliation with Lone Star Capital. Funny enough, so good memory on your behalf there.
Yeah,
But Adam Carswell, program manager with RaisingCapital.com, Raise Masters. Adam plays a very key role within kind of Hunter's life, within kind of Raise Masters function, which is an incredible group, which we're going to kind of get into here. But naturally, Adam is kind of on the front lines in the trenches of kind of capital raising as kind of an ancillary product to the capital raising market. But what's going on in the day to day, how kind of that ecosystem works, kind of groups, masterminds, things of that nature. But super excited to get all into that today with you. But, first off, Adam, welcome to the show. If you wouldn't mind just kind of giving an introduction to who you are and how you got in the chair you're in today.
100%. It really is an honor to be here, Craig. I look at the work that I've been observing Rob for years now, and him being in our network has been cool. And then you came along, and to look at we mentioned this. I got a call with another team member of yours shortly after this podcast. So to be so closely intertwined with Lone Star Capital and see the trajectory you guys have been on and currently are on, and with the content you're putting out, there's just few people in our industry doing it at the level you guys are. So for me to be here, I'm like, man, I feel just very, not to sound corny, but honored to be here. It's really, I'm looking forward to it. But my background, my story, if I could boil it down for you: born and raised Cleveland, Ohio. Went and played college basketball, and I ran track and field as well at a school about an hour north of Pittsburgh. Shout out to anyone who knows Westminster College. Was lucky enough to get voted into the Hall of Fame there in 2022, so that was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
The year I met you, Craig. There you go.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, basketball was something I really enjoyed at the time. I enjoyed coaching in particular, and so pursued a career in coaching for 2, maybe 3 years tops out of college. Found out pretty quickly after doing that, I noticed I liked basketball and I happened to be good at it, but I just didn't love it as much as some of my peers who are like working their way up the NCAA ladder. I'll never forget, one of the circles I was in was Coach Shaka Smart, who's the head coach of Marquette University now, and I was, you could say, under his mentorship to some degree back when they had there's a magical Final Four run that they made in like 2011. And everyone's like, Coach Smart, what's your secret? What's your secret? How are you guys so good? Like, you're a small school, but you guys are always so good. And he's like, go ask our strength and conditioning coach why we're so good. Coach Reese, like, how is the team? Like, how are you guys so good? He's like, well, plain and simple, our players are on campus 50 out of 52 weeks of the year. And it didn't hit me in that moment, but as the days and weeks and months went by, I was like, man, it's like a military job. Like I like to travel. Basketball brought me places like Belize, where I have a lot of connections now, and just other countries over the years. And I just realized, I want to do something that would give me the opportunity to kind of just do what I want with the time that I have. And so that kind of pushed me more into the business realm. I got started with Sherwin-Williams, the paint company in Washington, D.C., managed stores for them there for a couple of years, and that was cool. And I always tell people, if you slit my wrists back then, paint would probably come out. I was just so diehard for Sherwin. Just ask anyone who knows me. I recruited like half of my family to the company. But then I started to realize, my higher ups, guys I really look to for leadership, and some are still, I would consider, great mentors today. They're still working 60, 70-hour weeks. And I'm like, man, you're making what many people would probably consider good money, but like, when do they have time to spend it? I'm like, I gotta do something where like there's less or no ceiling, and go for it. So at like age, I guess 26, I'm 33 now, got my real estate license with Remax in McLean, Virginia, which was another just really, I'd say, lucky networking connection. Anyone who knows the world of real estate agents, you typically don't go to like a Remax until you've been, well, Craig, you don't go to Remax until you've been doing it for a while. I
Yeah.
like started off with Remax. So I'm feeling all good and proud of myself. But as I'm happy I'm talking to you. you're still writing contracts at 3 a.m. You're still showing houses on Sundays. I'm like, I'm going to have a family one day. I got to figure out what the heck is going on with like the commercial side of this industry. And that's really when I first found Hunter just through YouTube University. I'm looking through stuff, and he was actually on a podcast that wasn't even really a real estate podcast, but I'm like, that's who I want to learn from. That's who I want to be with. And so just cold emailed him off of hearing him on a podcast. And this was, to some degree before he was the Hunter Thompson that a lot of us know
Sure.
now. And initially he was like, no, I'm sorry. Like I can't. He had turned down a lot of other Adam Carswells before me for coaching, for teaching, whatever. And then about 2 weeks later, and I like to say and like to think, you can let Hunter confirm this, I think I was the straw that broke the camel's back, basically. He came back to me 2 weeks later and said, hey, I've been thinking about doing this thing. It's going to be this much. I haven't quite put it together yet. Would you want to be, put on a wait list if interested? Which is the exact same playbook. Like I look at it, we used to launch Raise Masters. Like, Hunter, if you want to learn how to be a great marketer and build curiosity, holy crap, guys, Hunter is the best at it. So that's how I got sucked into his world. Me and 5 other pupils, if you will, went through the first variation of his coaching and teaching, and I just continued to be the guy that just wouldn't let go. And I think Hunter really admired that, and he noticed my knack for connecting with people and just being pretty good at sales. And so I went from just doing odds and ends, little part-time marketing projects with him, to really selling our information products. And I've done that for years now. It's been very successful. And now I'm in a role within our company where I'm working more directly with our inner circle clients, which Craig is one of them. We've got about 30. And I guess I'm back in the coaching seat, honestly. Now it's kind of cool how it all comes around. So that's the, I guess maybe 4 or 5 minute version of my story and background, but happy to expand from there.
Yeah, no, lot of really to go off there. I think one theme that I really think about, and this is kind of the way I kind of view life, is you meet certain people at points that you don't know the purpose of it at the time, or why kind of God puts you in that room, why you met that person, why you kind of have a kinship or kind of a gravitational pull towards people. And some people, as you know, and kind of you had this feeling. And if you're ever around Hunter, for me, it was really with Rob. Rob and I were just really good friends prior to getting into business. I'm sure you and Hunter had this kind of a similar relationship there, but some people have a gravitational pull. And if you've never met Hunter Thompson, if you've never kind of been in that ecosystem, you should try to go to obviously the event coming up, which we're going to be advertising and talking about. Raise Fest here coming up in Phoenix, February 20th through 22nd. I rave about it to everyone I know.
Do you still live there?
I want everyone there.
Are you still in Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix still.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Craig's having an after party at his house, guys. We'll see you there.
Exactly. Be there or be square, right? But you meet people with a gravitational pull, and kind of Hunter has that. He's just got, charisma through his ears and whatnot. And obviously you've kind of recognized that, and that was something you wanted to do business with. But, it's kind of funny. I think at that point he was just kind of capital raising. It was really just, someone who was a thought leader in the space. And he was doing this before the space got really busy. I mean, now you look around and everyone's got a podcast. We both have podcasts, right? But we're looking around and everyone's kind of doing and following the blueprint, right? But he basically invented that blueprint along with Raise Masters and what you kind of started doing that there, right? So can we just talk about, raisingcapital.com, Raise Masters, kind of the evolution of it, if you will? Because I think a lot of people ask us, what masterminds are in? What do you recommend going to? Conferences and stuff, right? Because people, it's kind of a big self-help cult, but there's no Kool-Aid drinking, right? Or at least not to my knowledge. But it's kind of a big ecosystem. So how would you explain to people, Hunter, Raise Masters, Raising Capital, kind of the whole infrastructure and ecosystem that you guys have cultivated and created over the course of, a couple of years?
Yeah. Well, I remember when we launched Raise Masters, which was, because it looks cool on paper, we'll say in 2020. I mean, I think we had our first commitment in December 2020. We really launched the beginning of 2021. And we still market ourselves this way, but for the longest time, we would say we're the number one mastermind for elite capital raisers because we're the only mastermind for elite capital raisers. And that really was the case for, I'd say maybe the last couple of years. All of a sudden you start seeing, everyone has some type of capital raising component right now. Sometimes I compare us to White Claw. If you remember when White Claw came out, it was like seltzer water in a can. This is the coolest thing ever. And now every brand has their variation of White. So I like to say we're the White Claw of the capital raising world. But anyways, I think that the biggest thing about Raise Masters and what we can offer to anyone out there who's looking to level up their capital raising game, you guys have have all probably heard this before, and it's relatively cliche. And I think for our listeners now who aren't familiar with us, like it really is one of those things that you can only feel once you're on the inside. But just the network alone has been just a complete game changer for not only for myself, but like for hundreds, if not thousands, of our clients that we've serviced over the years. And again, you guys have been great examples of, this could, you look at the Bowflex commercial, you want to look like the guy in the commercial. That's our Rob Beardsley kind of, like this could be you too, right? So how this all encompasses into a whole with raisingcapital.com too. Like really, there's ASIM Capital, which is our private equity company, which is run by Hunter Tyler Lyons, pretty well-known name in our space. We got Bobby Hosmer over there as well. What I love about Hunter and what we've done over the years is everything that we, I guess you could say, teach or provide to our clients as a playbook. We do the same. We actually walk it like we talk it. I think there's a lot of, call them gurus, who get into the space. And obviously, I think a lot of people know online education is relatively lucrative, good for like quick cash flow, income, all that stuff. But you find a lot of teachers who end up just going so hardcore into the education that they don't actually do what they don't do deals anymore. They just focus on the teaching. So that's one thing that I think Hunter's just over the years always done well with, and I can always confidently talk to someone who's interested in us, is like, hey, this is the playbook. We know it works. Here's hundreds of testimonials beyond Lone Star Capital that you can take a look at. And by the way, ASIM Capital is raising money for a deal right now. Go follow Hunter, go follow Tyler on LinkedIn, go get on their email list and watch and learn that, maybe this is for anyone who's trying to figure this out. Just get on Hunter's email list. If you want to know how to build that on your own from the greatest in the game, like that's what we do. So
Yeah. Makes sense. So what comes with raisingcapital.com? What comes with Raise Masters? Obviously there's a network of people that you can do deals with. You can meet people. I think essentially the goal is just basically to expedite the learning curve process, going from, 0 to 100 as quickly as possible. But, for those who might be looking to join a mastermind and whatnot, what comes with the territory of it?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of folks are not comfortable or familiar with investing five figures to join a group, to join a network. It's almost unheard of, I think, for a majority of anyone out there, for any industry. And what I've found over the years is making that commitment to invest in yourself on an education, learning, and network perspective. It does get you to where you're going faster. Again, I've just seen it play out in so many of our clients' lives, and even like my own experiences. So what do you get? I was like I said, I was on a sales front for years, so we could do a full sales call right now if you want to.
Yeah.
But the best way I could break it down really is it's obviously the playbook, right? Like, and a lot of the foundation of the playbook. And this is something I think I just talked to someone probably not even like a half hour ago just about this topic. And we're not out there telling everyone that we're the greatest marketing mastermind that exists, but that's really what any business comes down to. And the amount of people that we work with who for years battle not wanting to be the face of their own brand. I get that. I understand. I come across as charismatic, but like I think we've all had phases in our life where we're not comfortable on camera or microphone. Trust me, we don't have time for all the stories, but I've been there, and I've also seen. We'll just continue to use Rob as an example. I remember when Rob had conversations with Hunter, like, "Hey, I don't want to be a thought leader. I just want to kind of be behind. I'm working with institutional clients. I just don't want to be out there." And Hunter was kind of like, "Cool, man. Well, that's kind of what you're going to have to do if you want to scale this thing the way you're telling me." And somewhere along the line, Rob overcame that mental hurdle. And you guys everyone tuned in right now can just go look at Lone Star's output. And I'm sure the amount of clients, whether retail or institutional, because I think that's a big thing people think is if you do this, then no longer will institutions be interested in you. It works for both. People just want to know that you're real, that you have a pulse, that you know what you're talking about. And so if there's any key takeaway really in one statement of like what you start to learn from being surrounded by people and Raise Masters is there's just no better marketer for your business than you. And period.
Yeah. I mean, I think to go into thought on that and to expand there, very few people, I would say, come out of the womb ready to be marketing themselves, putting themselves out there, kind of getting uncomfortable, being in the trenches there, if you will. But you have to do it. And Rob's actually someone who's, not the most extroverted
He's a quiet
individual.
guy.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
quiet guy.
actually not, he skews to being quiet. That's why we're very complimentary. And then similarly, I'm not someone who wants to be on a stage, this, that. Like it gives me, I get scared, but Rob's great at that. So we're complimentary there. But you kind of learn along the way that if you want to get to where you need to go, you're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to create content. And it's kind of funny. I think in 2020, this was a little less known even or even thought about, but the whole identity of personal branding is something that you kind of have to do. And in 2020 it was important, but now more than ever, I would say you have to really market and advertise yourself and put yourself out there if you want to exist as a business and if you want to get a competitive edge and really achieve kind of the success you want to achieve. And you have to be the kind of the focal point and the talking point of your own business, because no one's going to toot your horn for you. There's a lot of companies out there that are great, but if you don't have the right marketing mechanics behind it or systems, you're really not going to get into place there. And we've kind of really found that through Raise Masters and whatnot that there's an ecosystem out there, there's a playbook, there's kind of a system to follow. We're, I guess, at Lone Star here, we're not really individuals who are reinventing the wheel, creating the process. We're just following the script and doing what you're supposed to do. We just do it consistently, right? And that's the biggest thing, is kind of having the plan and the path there. And a lot of that has been created through kind of the Raise Masters ecosystem and processes.
Yeah, thank you for the shout out there. But I think this would probably resonate with a lot of folks in our industry, because in our industry, relatively speaking, Craig, you and I are still both pretty young. I think the
For sure.
average age,
Probably half the age of the typical person in it.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize they want to do this until they hit 40 or 52. So the reason why I want to make this comparison is because I do think in some ways the age thing does benefit us, and this is a hurdle I've seen with older. No, if you're listening and you're 40 or 50, trust me, I don't think you're old, but just saying older folks. I'm talking to my dad about this too. He remembers a time frame, just saying professional sports, where it was always about, from a marketing perspective, it was always Team A versus Team B. It was Lakers versus Celtics. And then he said he remembers, like, in the 80s, that was the first time that things started getting promoted as Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, or now we'll see whatever, LeBron James and Jason Tatum, just throwing names out there. But like, where the way that I guess the human mind is working as a collective right now is obviously the individual face, the individual brand is what's going to like pull in the attention. You can no longer kind of just logo versus logo or whatever. Those days are done. Those days might come back, right? Like, things happen in trends, but right now, and we were born into an era, Craig, where it's always been Kobe versus LeBron,
Yeah.
So I'm using I guess because I've talked about basketball, using the basketball metaphors, but that your face, ladies and gentlemen, your voice, I can hear Grant Cardone saying right now, omnipresence. And I'm not saying Grant Cardone is the gold standard either. It's just someone who obviously is everywhere,
out
right?
there in public. Yeah.
So, it's such a huge thing that a lot of people are leaving money on the table by not doing it and not sticking with it.
Yeah. So what would you say? Yeah. What would you say to your end is kind of some of the pain points and the reasons why people would join Raise Masters, typically speaking? Like, what are they looking for that they don't have, or looking to achieve, would you say?
Well, we tend to attract folks who our tagline is never scramble for capital again. So we're really leaning into folks that have tried to raise money or maybe have exhausted their friends and family pipeline. And it's like, okay, I can continue on this linear path of growth, but if I want to truly be successful, I got to figure out where this exponential hockey stick is at. And so in essence, like, we want to put you in a position where if you're not attracting potential, $100,000 check writers to your email list through LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook groups or meetup.com or in-person meetups or what, like, I'm just throwing Eventbrite, whatever. If you're not doing any of these avenues to bring in people who've never heard of you before, you're going to find it really, really challenging to scale. And what we help you with is not only figuring out how to collect those contacts, but what to say to them once they're, and how to communicate with them once they are in your ecosystem. And you'd be surprised the amount of people you can get from never knowing to super hot in, just a matter of a week or two. But then on the other side of things too, Hunter tells stories all the time of how he's had multiple investors now, but an investor who sat on his email list for 10 years, never did a phone call, wired 200K. 3 months later, another 300K came in. Never had a call with him. So that's really, we help you build out your digital footprint so that way you're magnetic and bringing in those leads.
I will confirm that unequivocally and say how crazy it is, because the amount of people that we have worked with that I've never met in person, that I barely need to send any information, I basically send them the deal and they are ready to invest just solely because they listen to the podcast, because they are in our systems. They've been looking at our, maybe they're dormant within our email systems, the campaign. I call them on an intro call and they don't pick up, and I send them an email. And the next thing you know, they invest with us without really asking a question. It was remarkable. And like, that is possible to do, but it doesn't happen overnight. And it takes credibility. It takes kind of an army behind it. But you build that credibility day by day. It doesn't happen with everyone, of course. Some people want to ask 1,000 questions. They want to rip apart your model. They want to, really kind of make you squeam a bit before they give you capital. Totally fine. It's not a one size fits all program. But just to your point there, like, it happens all the time. Like, these systems work, like they really do.
And yeah, absolutely. Another thing I'm just thinking of now too is like this game of entrepreneurship, and especially within, it's a niche within a niche. It's entrepreneurship. It's raising capital. Most people listening right now, aside from, I guess, people that maybe we have met now that we're in the industry, when you look at your friends and family, you're probably the only one in your world that's most likely doing this. And so it can become very lonely. You can be starting to wonder, am I doing the right thing? And so being able to be in a network, be in a community that, we literally have, as you know, Craig, like there's a call you could potentially hop on every day for support. With a very qualified, capital raiser or someone who's in the industry, many of which, again, are coaches. I think people at this point know, just because of how successful they've been. And so I think that's like the biggest thing is, obviously we all want to, I think, get to a level where we're like Lone Star or ASIM Capital or fill in the blank. But if you're listening right now, you're just getting started. I think you got to come in with the mindset of like, I'm going to commit to this for at least the next 5 years, because the first 1, 2, even 3 years, you can just feel like you're talking to yourself, but you gotta find a way to push through that. And honestly, I don't have any. Throw a disclaimer out there. It's not guaranteed, but I think if you're with us for 3 years or less, you'll get the results a lot faster. But just generally speaking, you have to be ready for war. Like it's not, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, it's a super competitive and a super busy space. But if you do follow the rules and the keys and the things of that nature with, kind of the infrastructure that's given to you, and you follow the advice of other people that have done it before, success leaves a blueprint. And I think that's the biggest theme here. One of the things to think about is success leaves a blueprint. And it's not an accident why some people are super successful. It's not an accident as to why the same people keep winning again and again. I would say this: anyone can do it, but not anyone can do it, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, it sounds silly, I'll say it again. Anyone can do it, but not anyone can do it. And what I mean by that is,
I'm going to steal that one from you
yeah,
now.
You never know who the next star is going to be, the next stud. Like, for instance, there's a guy in the group named Trog. Trog is incredible. He is someone that we're going to be working with in the future. I'm just referencing him because he and his coalition of people that he raises capital with, who kind of joined Raise Masters through a challenge. It was 500K in 5-day challenge. He ended up, raising like over $1 million for that. And then we just got on the phone with him yesterday, or Zoom, I should say, and he just raised $7 million in about a 2-week span for a deal when his goal is $3 million. Now,
Wow.
I'm not saying that that's going to be the results for everyone, but that just goes to show the next star is within you. It's within the ecosystem here, and it's following the blueprint. And this is someone that wasn't raising capital before, but if you have that network and you learn to tap into it, runaway Mike, if you have the network and you can kind of tap into that, that is the capability of kind of having the right systems and tools in places. And what is he? He's a capital raiser. So if you're a sponsor, listeners potentially looking for a group, you get access to the next set of kind of stars. And the way we look at this kind of internally at Lone Star is, groups like Raise Masters are essentially like a farm system. If you want to think about the Major League Baseball, right? The next person who's never raised a dollar, or the group that maybe is, could have a good active investor base, but doesn't necessarily know to tap into it, they're joining places like Raise Masters. They're going to be there for a period of time. And it's up to you to kind of cultivate, to harvest that, and kind of build these relationships. And it's not just that there's, a Slack channel and groups and modules that's there. They also have a lot of events, which is a perfect segue into kind of some of the live events that you guys do. So let's talk about that real briefly. I think there's several events you do, but the two main ones are one coming up here in February, and the one usually it's around October. But let's talk about the one.
Yeah. And I'm also just happy that you brought some of that up too, because there's so many different angles in which you can get value out of Raise Masters as well. Like obviously there's, I apologize if we got a crying baby
No, it's okay. We were very pro family on this
in the
podcast.
background.
Yeah.
But whether you're a fund manager, whether you're an operator, sponsor, or even a service provider, we have people within Raise Masters who have built businesses around, just say, like marketing to help work. I was going to I'd have his permission to throw the name out there, but we got service providers that are really good at like even taking what we do to the next level. So there's just this gathering of experts in the industry, regardless of kind of the angle that you're looking for. I'm confident if you're in commercial real estate, you would find value in it. And to your point, you can really see it for yourself firsthand here in just a couple of weeks. We're going to be going live in Phoenix for our annual conference, which is Raise Fest. That's the 20th through the 22nd. So you can go to raisefest.com for more information on that. Think about it, 1,000 capital raisers in one room. A good chunk of those are in our network. And so I always just let people know who are coming to Raise Fest that are already in our community. I'm like, hey, when you're there, if you come with the mindset of like, hey, I'm just going to find that one dream partner or that one dream connection that's going to 10x your business, I'm confident you're going to find that individual there. And typically coming with that mindset, you end up finding, other people that can potentially fulfill that need as well. So the networking, I know we talked about it a lot. It's off the chain. Hunter used to be a DJ. I guess he once a DJ, always a DJ, right? Myself
Right.
as well. So we love bringing the hype, bringing the energy. If you've never been to a rave before, which I would assume a lot of people in the industry haven't, get ready because this is basically going to be your first one.
Yeah.
We have a good time. And then to your point, we do an event every October. That's the Raise Masters Retreat. And so that's for members only. But it's also just like Raise Fest, like super, just a big game changer for a lot of people from a networking perspective.
Yeah.
And getting to know us.
Yeah. What's kind of the subject matter for those who don't know, how do you kind of create the agenda and ecosystem for Raise Fest? Like, what does that look like?
Well, if anyone wants to check it out, you can you go to raisefest.com, and the agenda is actually online right now. But how do we do it? Hunter's married to a rock star who's like a beast at putting together events. Chrissy was really laid the foundation for any live event that we've done. So from speakers, which are you speaking this year? I know
I'm
Rob
not
is.
speaking. Rob is going to be speaking, but like
Right.
kind of just like from a content perspective, there's fun stuff. There's kind of how to raise capital, right? So if we could talk about maybe some of like the subject matter to kind of think about, what the content will be around.
Sure. Yeah. And without giving away too much information, I know one thing that we always like to do is provide goodies for the nerds. And, the people who do show up with their arms crossed are thinking like, I'm too good for this. Trust me, we got some economists and like some, even for me, people talking about terminology and details of structuring a deal that I've never heard of before. Like it's very granular, and we go out of our way to do that. And then on top of that, I mean, hey, sometimes it's the one thing that we ignore the most and we need it the most, like purely motivation too. Like we have some really strong motivational speakers that we kind of feel like we have a secret connection with, that maybe other people haven't seen them speak before, and we know they can crush it and really light a fire for your 2025. So and Hunter's, he's a pupil of Tony Robbins as well, so we've kind of brought in as much of that energy as we can. But if you're looking for structures on deals, if you're looking for economics, if you're looking for motivation, if you're looking for marketing, really just the world of capital raising, asset management, I mean, what else comes with our industry, Craig? I'm confident we're covering it all. So
Yeah.
Get ready for it.
And I think really an important thing that was kind of one of the focal points last year, super crucial for thing to think about if you're a sponsor or capital raiser, capital allocator, is the fund of fund world and the ever-changing processes there,
That's
right?
huge.
Like the information and stuff changes so quickly in the world, especially now more than ever today. Kind of doing things legally, compliantly, things of that nature, you get the education and information there, which is super valuable. So making sure that you have got the latest and greatest, details on those fronts is, very crucial. The motivational aspect and kind of networking aspect, you got to meet people in person if you really want to get to the next level. So, if you're a sponsor looking to meet more people, you can meet someone online, meet someone on Zoom, but unless you've solidified that relationship in person, it doesn't count the same. Okay, let's just call it what it is. It does not count or resonate the same as it would if you were going to meet someone in person. The amount of capital that Rob and I get to connect with and meet with that kind of sets our year up is invaluable. There's 2 conferences really that you can go to, and this is like the biggest thing. There's 2 conferences you can go to. You can go to Race Fest and BEC. And that's basically the extent of where you're
Oh,
going to get an
BEC. Yep.
ecosystem.
Yep.
That's basically the extent of the ecosystem in which you can actually meet capital raising partners that will help fuel your growth if you are a said, sponsor. And then if you're a fund manager, capital allocator, if you don't meet people in person, and kind of feel people out, I'm not saying it's the end all be all. It's not the end of the world, but there's just a lot more that can be accomplished when you do that. So, you're kind of, if you want to be in this industry, if you want to take these things seriously, you kind of got to be in person there and experience it for yourself.
Yeah, it's such a, and I kind of glanced over it, even though you said it a couple of times there, and now I'm just thinking about it. The fund to funds model is just so hot right now, and it looks like it's going to be that way for quite some time now. And Hunter's been doing it since the term was really even popularized.
For
So
sure. He was
what,
probably ahead of his time. Yeah.
whether you're a fund manager, or best in class, and a fund manager looking for a best in class operator or sponsor to work with, or someone who is looking for fund managers, I would agree. What we're doing and what Joe Fairless is doing, I don't know where else you would go. I don't know.
I don't either.
Tell
And
me
to
if
be
you know.
honest,
Yeah.
we basically meet with like half our, high end, capital raising database from these conferences. There's obviously some people that can't make it or, don't go for other reasons. Totally fine. But we really meet with, the future of who we're going to do business with throughout the year, which, if you're looking for, either or of those items side of the aisle, if you're looking for legal information, you have the framework and infrastructure there to kind of take advantage of that. So that's kind of why I wanted to speak with you today here. Final thoughts here on Raise Masters, kind of how you guys see the kind of the network going, would you say in 2025 and beyond, ultimate goal? Is it just kind of more of the same and kind of developing the next, set of stars there? How do you look at that?
Yeah. So, I mean, at first I thought kind of what you were asking is just like the dynamics of the market right now and the trends that I'm seeing. And it does, I think everyone would agree at this point, a bottom has been hit, and we might even be on a little bit of a somewhat of an upswing now. I don't know. It still might be till 2027 till we're back to, call it comparatively the 2015 to 2019 era. But, and then internally, yeah, I mean, Hunter's number one thing is like always give your audience one call to action so you don't confuse people, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put it this way: come to Raise Fest. There's some things that we are working on that I'm sure are going to be shared there, and actually, you're probably already aware of it. We're raising capital through AI. We we have a CRM that's exclusive to our members right now, which I'm thinking is probably going to get announced to some degree in a few weeks here. So. I would just tease you guys out with that. We're definitely working on some cool things, and just get over to Phoenix, give it a Raise Fest, and come see us.
Yeah, we'd even touch on AI and whatnot, but with the world changing as much as it is possible, or as quickly as it is right now, some people are going to be left behind and some people are going to thrive. So it's a question of how seriously you want to take your business. And, Rob and I are, kind of the biggest walking, breathing testimonials, for this stuff. If you're serious about your business and you want to take it to the next level, here you go. It's really that simple. You have to go to conferences and meet people. There's no getting away around it. When I was younger in my career doing residential real estate and whatnot, I used to think conferences were silly, this, that. And then one of my really good friends was actually meeting all sorts of people that he was doing business with, getting referrals from. And it was a lot of juice that he got to extract from going to that stuff. Now, I was in a different business, granted, but what I look at in reflection to him with, I give him credit for it, but it just goes to show you meet people in person, you do business in person, you make real relationships in person. So I can't speak enough to that. Adam, you've been a great guest today. I don't want to keep you forever. You got crying babies. You've got, a very important meeting with some team members on my end after this. Where can people find you and reach out if they want to learn more about yourself, your story, listen to your podcast, and all things Adam Carswell?
Yep. Very simple. It's just come find me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a DM if we're already connected, or when we do get connected, and just say Lone Star in the DM so I know where you came from. Happy to expand on anything I talked about here today with you guys there. And Craig, thank you for all the hard work that you put in. I know what it's like to podcast, and just like raising capital, it's not as all peaches and cream that people might think. So just thank you for your dedication and everything Lone Star is doing to stay relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for creating the infrastructure and ecosystem so we can thrive, scale, and be in a better spot than before we found you. So thank you so much. For the listeners, guys, I can't advocate a conference more than Raise Fest. It is quintessential to our year. it's really, I tell Rob this is like my Super Bowl because I get to put our dinners together, put all the meetings together, meet everyone in person, see a bunch of friends that, are in the space that, I hadn't seen yet, in this point of the year, meet a lot of people. It's just great energy. If you're really taking your business seriously, this is where you want to go. So everyone, go to the event, reach out to Adam, February 20th to 22nd, Phoenix, Arizona. Be there or miss out. Talk soon, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank
Peace.
you.